got sleep, which is unusual for us.
Yeah, it's very rare, and it's been certainly not impossible like the last 4 or 5 days, right?
Well, almost everyone I talked to today said, I did not watch the news last night. And it was the one night that the news wasn't so bad. Now, because of what happened the day before in Washington, D.C., I think the protests in New York were probably 5, 6, 7 times bigger than they were the days before, and yet very, very peaceful, I believe.
Yeah, sometimes I think that happened where it, like more people get like shook awake, and then that means the majority of people are gonna kind of actually keep it chill. Sometimes the bigger protests are the chiller ones.
Right, exactly. I would agree with that 100% because it brings in, different kind of people. But a lot of folks yesterday, whatever you think of the president, fuck you normally comes back with a fuck you from the other side. Just like any street fight or bar fight, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Normally when you get up in someone's face and you start to get pushy and shovey, it gets pushy and shovey the other way around. But luckily for us, and I mean this sincerely, it was a relief to see things a little more chill last night. Vito, coming home from work, saw the nurses and doctors out in the middle of this. Vito, what exactly did you see?
So a protest in the middle of Times Square, right by our office on 47th and Broadway. A ton of healthcare workers came out to show their support for the Black Lives Matter movement. It was really like I didn't know. I just knew there was going to be a protest over there, so I went by after work, and I did not know that the healthcare workers were going to be there. And it was pretty touching to see, especially because I think one of the arguments that some people have been using is that this is undoing everything, and that's been used against the protests in general. So seeing the people who are out there actually fighting it, supporting it was pretty cool to see.
You mean from a COVID angle,
Yes.
that these crowds are dangerous? Yeah, I kind of feel that the crowds are dangerous too, for that exact matter. And I guess we won't find out for a couple of weeks. This is like an experiment for the people of New York when they said, hey, you can start and gently open up. Well, now we could say what happens with crowds. Are we passing the COVID around? But I'll say this. I saw a lot of people in that protest yesterday wearing masks. And you don't always see that all the way around the country.
Yeah, certainly New York is like, it almost looks like a good like 90% wearing masks, because not only are people showing up with masks because, they're New Yorkers and everything that's happened here, but I saw also people are showing up with masks to give out to people who don't have them.
I can tell you that I saw somebody yesterday not wearing a mask at the protest, and like people were pointing it out and like saying to this person, you can't be here if you're not going to wear a mask, to the point where they got the person to just put one on.
I was out yesterday after the show. Probably, I'm just trying to get a walk in because I have to be home by 8 o'clock at night, whether I want to or not. This is the first time probably since 7th grade that I have a curfew. You know what I mean? It's very weird for me. And I literally had to get back in time for the curfew. Like, I got to head home now. I'll be in trouble if it's after 8. But
Right.
I'm up on Fifth Avenue, Central Park. Unofficial name, Central Park East. Never catches on, though. And I see, like, a protest start to come by. And then I can't believe how long it must have went on for 25, 30 minutes of all these young people. And the energy was just, like, insane. You know what I mean? Like, the energy was just insane. And they were all heading down, meeting the protests that Vito saw on the west side. So these protests, I don't know whether they're organized this way or they're central, different groups, but they start in all different places in the city, but all end up heading in one direction, and then sometimes the cops try to stop it. But this protest was incredibly diverse, except for one thing. It was so young. It was unbelievable. Like, I think that I work with a lot of young people between this show and stand-up. Everyone I know would have been the oldest person in this protest.
You know, the only tension I heard of last night in the city was just that there was a moment that they were crossing the bridge, and then both sides got locked down, sort of trapping them there for a while. And I know that there was, sort of a lot of talk about social media, like what's going to happen. It was like a tense moment because all these protesters were trapped out there, and eventually, I think the Brooklyn side let them through.
Well, the thing is, they decided to stop the Brooklyn people, but on the Manhattan side of the Manhattan Bridge, instead of stopping them on the Brooklyn side, you now had all these people who've walked over a 2-mile bridge, and they're stuck there. And I'm just like, and of course, you're at the point because of the curfew that everybody's breaking the law just by being out. That's the whole point of the curfew, is we no longer need a reason to arrest you. You're just outside. But I got to tell you, the young people that I saw, I only saw one guy who looked like a troublemaker. He was carrying a 2x4 that had nails in it that apparently he had pulled up somewhere. You know what I mean? But other than that, and again, the number of females that are part of this is close to 50%. You know what I mean? When people talk about looters, you don't think that they're females. These are young people that are seriously involved. And I'm standing on the side, basically invisible to them. They don't give a shit about me. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like Tim Witherspoon. I'm like yelling at the protesters. You win some, you lose some, but you live to fight another day. You know what I mean? Like, I literally had nothing to give them. Nothing at all.
Put that 2x4 down. Who do you think you are, Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
Yeah.
It's not going to solve anything, son.
I was like, I was there for the no nukes in 1979. I've seen this before. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, that there's not a lot of experience here because they're young, but there's a tremendous amount of energy. And then, you see the cops, and at least from what I saw, just like you're saying, like the shit that makes the media, and I guess that it should, but it is a very small percentage of each side of this that loses their shit. You know what I mean? Like, most of the cops are like, I get that this is going on, and most of the people are like, it's not necessarily like anybody certainly disagrees with each other, except for these rare cases that break out that are just fucking awful, and we can't seem to fix them.
Right. I had a lot of people outside of the city reach out to me on social media and DM me like, hey, just checking up. I know you're in Brooklyn. I hope you guys are safe. Like, I don't know what you're watching on TV. I don't know if you think people are pulling people out of their homes. Like, you're safe.
Yeah. We're less safe because of the COVID.
Right.
But I like, having cooler heads involved in this. A Meghan McCain, an Ashton Kutcher. Right. Somebody that has their finger on the pulse.
Vito, I know that you live in Meghan McCain's neighborhood, and I understand it's a war zone currently.
I know exactly where Meghan McCain lives. I want to say a few things about where she lives. One, there's nothing over there. It's in the middle of a bunch of car dealerships and a park. There's a movie theater there because there's nothing. Like, there is nothing in this area. It is completely fine. Like, I live 10 blocks away from her. Some storefronts are boarded up, but we haven't been attacked. There's no damage near me. I actually, at like 10 o'clock last night, I heard some chants outside my building. I saw people walk by. I looked out. They weren't damaging anything. They were just walking down the street. I don't live in a war zone.
So last night, Meghan McCain tweeted, my neighborhood in Manhattan looks like a war zone. De Blasio and Cuomo are an utter disgrace. This is not America. And then her neighbor, quote, retweeted, Meghan, we live in the same building and I just walked outside. It's fine.
Here's why. Here's the thing that Meghan, and I don't even know if she's in that building right now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Who knows?
Where she is. But
She's not. I know somebody who lives in her building, and they said they haven't seen her in weeks.
Yeah, well, the thing is, those stores that are boarded up have been closed for 3 months. That's the scary thing. You know what I mean? Like, the scary thing is the COVID, and those buildings that haven't been open in months decided we're going to put some fucking plywood up. Luckily, I invested very, very early into the plywood business, and I'm doing very well for myself right now.
You're doing well. What about bricks? Are you behind that?
The brick, I'm going to tell you the truth. To this day, I have no idea if the brick thing is true or false. I just can't get a handle on it.
I know, because, I've seen so many videos now, and it's like one of those things like, I'm seeing it and I accept it, but I don't want to run with this if this is untrue. I mean, it certainly is wild, and there certainly does seem to be a lot of piles of bricks around.
We put up the Ashton Kutcher on the Edge video, and he doesn't even look like Ashton Kutcher. Like, I'm looking at him, and I'm just like, it's that example. First, there's two things. Number one, everything is weighing on everyone. Everyone you know looks older than they did 3 months ago, a lot older. And then two, this is the worst time to be a celebrity, because whatever you say isn't just lightly stupid, but it's heavily stupid now.
Yes, and I think that they just feel the weight of the world is on their shoulders, and that I have to make a statement, and sometimes the issue, Ashton, is just going ahead and putting yourself right at the center of that statement maybe isn't always the best look, particularly when you look so frayed right now.
But the funny thing about him is, like, he didn't come out and say anything mean, just dumber than he should be. That's all.
Right.
He's just,
exactly.
Yeah. Even after we read all these things, like he's a tech investing genius and all this, he just comes across as well-meaning, but you're just like, oh, I don't know.
Like a big heart, but kind of simple.
Simple Jack. It is so odd. Every day is so odd. You try to stay as loose as you can with this whole thing, but you just never know what's coming next. You just never know what weirdness is going to come your way. But I mean, here's the smallest blessings now that we're like, hey, no violence last night in the city.
Right.
All right, we're making it happen. We're doing it, guys. And some people
Frank
get
Rizzo
really
statues
mad.
down. I mean, that's good, right?
Can I just tell you this? That's not my culture and heritage. That's the thing. And I did hear from, a Philly guy, and I don't want to say who it is, but it's Flathead. And I want to try to find his thing. He goes, first case, Kate Smith, now Frank Rizzo. What's next? Jerry Blavitt? High lit? These are just cultural Philly touchstones. And that's what happens. You think of these people as cultural touchstones and nothing else. You know what I mean? It's like Alec Baldwin is another celebrity who stepped in it yesterday because he used the Black Lives Matter Day to defend Woody Allen. I think he did an interview with Woody Allen, and everyone was just yelling, "How inappropriate!" And Alec is just ready for a fight anyway. You know what I mean? You take a parking spot of his, he'll punch you. And then he was screaming back, "I didn't even know about this." You know what I mean? Like, you're now in trouble if you don't keep up with this stuff.
Yeah. There was certainly a lot of conversation about what your black square etiquette is, and you're like, "Hey, look, somebody put up a black square. They're really trying." You know what I mean? They're trying.
Yeah, maybe they didn't use the correct hashtag. You know what I mean? Like some people were complaining about that.
But you know what? I know some people, I saw some friends of mine being like, if you're just putting up a black square, that's not enough. You got to be doing more. And I get where you're coming from, and totally. It's like seeing somebody wear a band t-shirt and you're like, you haven't bought one album of theirs. And I get it. And I understand the thing. But I also saw people yesterday posting that. And I know their backgrounds. I know the neighborhoods they grew up in. I know who their parents are. And just posting that was pretty brave and did speak pretty loudly in their communities.
Exactly right. Mike went through a thing, and my friend Mike and Molly's, where he put up the black square thing. And then some people wrote in. I saw one of your stores give a free cupcake to a cop before. Now you're gonna just stop trying to police each other. Just leave it at the black square. Look, if you're a band and someone's wearing your band t-shirt, you think that's a positive thing. They don't have to know every song on every album. They don't give a shit. They're just quite happy that they've moved another Ramones t-shirt, and maybe somebody will see that t-shirt and buy the album and then like the band as much as you. I don't know. You can't do everything right.
And by the way, like the black square was only meant to be symbolic. So yes, if that's like the only thing you do, it's probably not enough. Just like if the only thing you do is take a knee, that's not enough. But it's a symbol, right? It's like to say like, look, I don't know what to do in this moment, but I'm going to show you I'm with you.
Did you guys ever see the movie The Freshman?
Yes, I have.
Marlon Brando. Well, remember when he went into the coffee shop, and Marlon Brando's coffee shop had a thing of Mussolini, and he was like, "You supported Mussolini?" He goes, "No, it's like it's just to remember those times." That's how Frank Rizzo is. And is kind of remembered now, not so much for what he did, but it reminds people of a tougher, uglier Philly. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
that
Philly that you
that happened to be racist, but it is like the truth of that time.
Exactly. And that's the thing, that of course all that gets washed away in history, like the Southern generals. You know what I mean? You don't know what that statue did, those guys in that statue, but you're like, hey, that statue's been there my whole life. You know what I mean? Like, I used to meet my girlfriend in front of that statue. You don't think of it as anything more than a statue. It's, you know what I mean? That's your touchstone for it if you're not a Civil War buff. So that's why a lot of people try to defend things, because they've just always been there. Sometimes people get mad when you take down the big car dealership sign. You know what I mean? Like the wacky car. You're like, that's always been on Route 19.
Like how I feel about cup noodles.
Perfect. That's the perfect thing. But there are like plenty of these stories of people stepping in it. Vito, you've got Dustin in New Jersey on the line.
Hey, hello?
Hey, man. Hey.
So apparently overnight, I don't know when, but some Whiteout Wednesday and like White Lives Matter hashtags popped up, and K-pop fans totally took over, and it's all K-pop memes and like K-pop dances and clips. It's pretty crazy the way they snuffed out these I guess like instigator hashtags,
Dude, that's
The
really funny
K-pop
because
kids.
this was the second one I've heard of, and I'm gonna have to have someone like look it up for me. But they did something else like this where there was some sort of a website or like almost like an informant type website about looters or something, and the K-pop fans went there and flooded it with silly K-pop memes, and the cops couldn't use it. And I was like, this is very funny that they're using their numbers in a way that I don't think anyone expected them to, you know, have a horse in this race.
So it
Well,
was.
hold on for one second. I just Earl has a spy report for us. Spy report. Spy
Yes,
report.
the three other officers involved in the death of George Floyd will be charged with abetting, and they're about to do a major press conference.
Now,
And they've
when
been
you say
arrested?
abet,
They will be charged with aiding and abetting. They didn't really say that they're taken into custody yet. I'm getting the story as it comes in.
all right, you keep an eye on that, Earl. That's going to
All
be
right.
your thing. Earl Douglas is making an arrest in just a few moments, which means all four former officers, all the ones that were fired for being involved in the George Floyd killing, will now face charges. And that was Amy Klobuchar who announced that, which, goes to show you, like, even a couple of days ago, that somebody could have just said, somebody at the top, to chill people out, look, we get it. This is being investigated. You have my word that I will keep you up to date. Rather than saying we're going to dominate the streets, you know what I mean? We're going to take you down and make these things even bigger. You could have said, we're on this. You know what I mean? We're doing our best. And as leader of this whole thing, Black Lives Matter to me very much. And you're going to see, none of that went down that way. You got to learn to, unless you think it's a positive thing, to have people in the street and fight with them. But you got to, when people get heated, you need somebody to step in and just, like in a bar fight, like, hey guys, come on. You know what I mean? Let's chill this out. What are we here for? We're here to party. Any fucking bouncer. There's those kind of bouncers and the kind of bouncers who just show up at work hoping to throw hands.
Yeah, I mean this whole thing obviously from the moment it happened felt mishandled, and it felt like it wasn't moving fast enough for sure. And there was no communication, and nobody felt sure that anyone would be charged from the beginning.
That's why you need people to, talk, to explain things, to come in and be the cool head about this whole deal. Let's see what happens with all this. It should be, hopefully this will help a little bit, but who knows? It's the Bennington show on a Wednesday. And as we said, here in New York anyway, here in COVID City, last night was the biggest nights of protest any of us had seen. And it did seem much more peaceful, although there were a ton of arrests. Most of them were for being outside. The new crime in New York is you are outside.
Yeah. Which really, it's not really put in place. I mean, I think that's like the thing that's so confusing when everyone is like, it's not really put in place to protect anyone. It's literally just to say, if we want to, you're not supposed to be out here. So it gives, them free reign to be able to arrest people if they need to.
There are already the response to this is amazing around, because the Star Tribune is the one who put up the story, and they've already their website has crashed that quickly.
Wow. Yeah.
So whether you like it or not, whether you're on the, Blue Lives Matter. Let's never forget that. Blue Lives Matter. But
Yes.
some of them have caused this trouble, whether you like that or not either. You know what I mean? Some of the time that you watch this stuff on TV and you're like, well, that looter is being annoying as shit. That's got to stop. But then you're like, hey, the way that cop is also acting, I wish that guy was either trained better or someone stopped him from being a cop along the line. I don't think that's too much to say on either side, that not every one of the people out finding themselves in the protest is behaving right, and a lot of the people on the other side are not behaving correctly. Bringing the military in has stunned a lot of old line people who feel like that should never happen. What's interesting to me is the people that were always saying the government is going to bring the military here, and that's why I need to load up on guns. They don't seem like they're too upset about the military being in. This is how fast opinions change from our stupid right to our stupid left. You know what I mean?
Yes.
All the things that they worry about can be out the window and okay, depending on the day.
Yeah. That is definitely apparent. Something I thought of right away. When Trump had made that comment, I was like, I wonder, the people who said this is why I own a gun is because I'm ready and willing to take up against the military if they turn on their people. I'm wondering what their feelings were in this moment. But like you were saying about people misbehaving as protesters, and then cops, doing things that are totally unscrupulous. And you see it both. I've seen videos of both. But I will say I've seen a lot of videos of protesters stopping other people from looting, stopping people from becoming
100%.
violent, telling them stop. And I would love to see a cop turn to another cop and go, get your head together. Like, chill out. Like, you're losing it right now. You're scared. You're reacting strongly. I would like to see that too. I would like to see police each other.
Well, it's very, it's always a strange thing when it comes to that kind of stuff, because I saw that these radio guys got fired today, and for something that they said that was obviously offensive. And yet I'm always on the side of radio guys 100% of the time, because that's my tribe. That's where I came up. I'm always on the side of comics. I'm like, hey, it was a fucking joke. Stop it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always on their side. And that's the prejudice that you come in with. You know what I mean? That's your own, there's, I'm sure FedEx drivers feel the same way. You know what I mean? Like, hey, sometimes packages are going to get lost. What the fuck can you do about it,
Right. And I guess my point is like, I would love to see the use of that brotherhood used differently to help, not only help your buddy not get in trouble, but help them, steer them in the right direction, pull them off of somebody, when you see that they've got his knee on someone's neck. You know what I mean? That's
we all
like
agree
really
with
the
that.
thing is like, is like, I would love to see that like the strength of that brotherhood used in that way.
And you see it in some of the older guys. Like, I've seen Bill Bratton on TV saying this is never acceptable. But when he was running the force, people thought that some of that. Everyone hates how slow progress is. You know what I mean? They despise it. But it's very rare to see it go any other way other than very slow. And then a tipping point. Our friend Jill Lawson is on the line, and I know she lives right next to Fifth Avenue on Central Park, and that's where I saw that mass of people yesterday. Jill, how are you?
Hi, Ron. Hi, Gail.
Hey,
I'm good. I'm at a loss. I don't really I don't really know what to say.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that you and I have always had in common is that we've always loved this city. And it's very, very strange to see New York and feel New York in this vibe.
Yeah, when the protests are close, it's comforting to see everyone coming together. And then when people come down Fifth and you can see people running out of their buildings and just participating for as much as they can, it's the nights that are unsettling, and I think that's the same with everyone in any city or anywhere.
Nighttime, are you normally staying in?
Yeah, staying in. I think 2 nights ago maybe was the only night that it seemed like right on the edge. I think it was 2 nights ago, and James has unfortunately become like scanner guy, which is not great. So it was just sitting around, and I don't know if you've noticed, but like there hasn't been any wind or any air movement the last few nights. So it's just complete silence. And then, distant helicopters and yelling and glass breaking, and that's it. That's the whole night. There's nothing else. So
your building, and actually your entire neighborhood, and I've been up there, I've taken some pictures. I didn't put any of them up. But you'll see these giant buildings and some of the most expensive apartments in the world, and you'll see one light or two lights. And this goes on for blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks.
I know. Everyone's gone. It's never full. It's never full around here. But since COVID started, it's everyone's gone. Although there have been more lights on lately, but I think it's just people telling whoever works for them to turn the lights on in the buildings. I don't know if they feel safer that way or what, but
you just see doormen just standing out on the street, just looking around, having a smoke. You just see that everywhere.
The poor doorman. I can't imagine what it's like to be on street level all the time. Actually, we're across from a consulate, and they have a full-time security guard that literally just sits in a car like 24 hours a day. And I'm like, this poor guy, he's like, I don't get paid enough to fend off. It's interesting too. 2 nights ago was the only night that we were just like, ooh, should we just put our car in the garage for the night? And we did. And that was the only. James, he came back, and he I don't think I've ever seen him look like that before. He was a little shaken up. Yeah. He just had that kind of like, where do we go? Where do we go from here?
Yeah. Some moments it feels like, I don't know if I can ride this out. You know what I mean? And like I said before, I kind of feel like whatever the rebirth is going to be a lot younger than we thought. You know what I mean? Like, I really think these same kids that are protesting are going to be the driving decision of which direction the city is going to go in. I don't know if a lot of the money people are going to come back.
I don't know either, but you can't. I feel, God, I don't have any coherent thoughts, because I feel so like just nothing but like empathy and helplessness, and those are two. I think those are two things that I just don't know what I can do what I can do about that right now. And, so yeah, you see these empty buildings and you're like, why is an entire part of this city just empty buildings right now? And how can that be an effective, vibrant, how can that be considered an effective, vibrant city? And why would anyone want to be here? So.
Yeah, the people that will want to be here are not those people. That's true. And the rest of us we're in our Ashton Kutcher moments where we're just feeling the weight of it and just talking crazy and unable to help. Jill, if you need anything, let us know, okay?
Yeah.
Good luck to you guys. You are living like Will Smith in I Am Legend right now. And I saw a tiger on your street, so be careful.
Oh, no. oh, gosh. Okay, thank you, Gail.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you, Ron. All right, bye.
Take care.
All right, talk to you soon. The police scanner thing, when I was younger, you'd have to be a nut to own a police scanner and have it sitting in your house. And that was always the paranoid lady in the neighborhood, And then she would call you, there's been a car wreck on 322, You're like, I don't know what I can do from here. But now, because of the phone, you can get police scanners, in any city at any time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah, and then I follow the New York City Police Scanner Twitter account where they're just tweeting the things that they're hearing on the scanner. So then I don't even have to dial in. I get that. Just don't read the comments. That's what I always feel.
Right.
As soon as you start reading the comments, you're like, "Oh, these people are terrible." But if you're going to get, you just read the updates.
I like to do in the comments. I want to do over or under. Normally it's 4 before you read the word animals. You know what I mean? You have to expect that term to come up.
Yeah. I was thinking too, this, I thought that this is a very interesting shift that happened. And I think a big part of it is being in the middle of the pandemic. Plus, I feel like there's a lot of people who are not people of color who are in this feeling of helplessness. And those two combined, I feel, have started a really interesting thing where people are finding other resources and ways to be helpful. And I don't remember there being this level of spreading information about, let's say, if you can't protest, but you want to go ahead and donate to, bailout funds for Minnesota or Brooklyn or wherever your hometown is and stuff like that. I feel like there's been a lot of sharing of information, and it's something that I haven't seen in past movements like this at this level.
Well, I've also found out that there's a place called nuts.com that simply sells nuts and dried fruit, and I don't have to depend on my fruit stand now to get nuts. So thank you for all the people with helpful hints. Here's our buddy. He was 4 days down in a coma over COVID, and he's back and feeling okay. It's Frank in the Bronx. Frank.
Hey, Frank.
What's up? I love that voice of that little. I love listening to that beautiful little Gigi. That voice, that little kid, Juju's voice. The cutest little gorilla, banana, bear, anything he says puts a smile on my face. Dad, pop, sneakers, walk. I mean, I could just listen to her all day, and
yeah.
it's so amazing. And keep it up because you're I know that it's rough, and she'll never probably remember what's happening, but what you're doing and having her involved has put nothing but smiles on my face, and it reminds me of
thank you,
when
buddy.
I had little ones and my girl's going to college this year. So listen, my city is being pulled and ripped apart, and it hurts. And I think from your last caller, who she's really she can't even talk about it. I mean, Ron,
yeah.
I expect things like this in Philly. Kidding, just being facetious here.
Yeah.
I've never seen such a divide in the city, and even with Eric Gardner, and we all know that that was ridiculous, and that wasn't good, and no one's agreeing with what took place. But to see guys in Range Rovers looting and driving away in Range Rovers, it's kind of like,
right.
How could this be? And it's just, you can't, and you know, you have a mayor and a governor that are battling each other, and no one's
Terrible.
given the power to at least the police department. There's like no leadership, and I've never seen the city like this. And I've been around the city all my life, as you know, as you could tell by my Maine accent. I've never left this place. I never will, and this is not going to make me run. What I do like is I love seeing the people walking with different colored people, different colors, different peoples, different backgrounds supporting this. I was outside clapping and cheering them on, but then, you know, you get a couple of crazies that are breaking windows, and it's like, I just wish they wouldn't do that, because that's the last thing you want to show. You want to walk around with dignity, and you want to show that you believe that this needs to change. We all agree, but you can't call them bad apples. I think you played that Chris Rock thing, bad apples, like a bad pilot. You can't have a bad apple. And the truth is, unfortunately, you could only weed out so many. And I just hope my city gets back to normal, because, Ronnie, like you said, with this corona, with not being able to walk around, which is what, you know, you leave your apartment and you're in a movie. That's what the city used to be to me. And now we don't get that. And it's like, you know how it is. I miss it. I miss it. I mean, I don't know. I love the show. I keep listening.
Thank you.
I'm alive. And listen, I love you guys. And is Chris out of the shit box, or is he still in the shit box?
I don't know what's going on with Chris. He was supposed to have a bread bros today. It never showed up. He's, he's joined a fringe alt-right group that wears Hawaiian shirts. Frank, what can I say? I love the kid. It doesn't mean, I love him if he's doing good things. I love him if he's doing bad things.
He needs to make croissants next time.
Yes.
Anyway,
that's
love
right.
you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Frank in the Bronx, when he said when you would leave his house, he would feel like he was in a movie, and that's the New York that he misses. For those of us in New York, there's a reason why all the rom-coms get made in New York City. It's the people, you know what I mean? The people on the street is why we're all here. That energy is why we're all here. One of the things about me seeing all the kids coming down the street protesting yesterday that was amazing was it was the first time I felt that kind of energy in a while. At the same time, it's like when you're at the beach. When you're at the beach, you're in the waves, it feels fantastic. Then suddenly some waves come along, you're like, wait, this is more dangerous than I thought. It has both those feelings, you know what I mean? It has both the thrill of riding the waves and is this, wave going to crush somebody? Is this wave going to bring somebody out to sea? Frank came up with a great example. The city, the state, and the federal are not working together at all. At all. It's what their fucking job are. Their job is to make shit run.
Yeah, it hasn't seemed like there's any unity. I mean, it's very clear here in New York, but I'm sure that people feel that, in other cities. But in New York, it doesn't feel like our mayor is jiving with our governor is jiving with the president.
Yeah. No, did you wake her up?
She was stirring.
She needs her sleep, Gail. It's the middle of the day. She needs her sleep. Frank came up with a funny line when he goes, I expect this out of Philly, but not New York. It was hilarious. So there was this, in the middle of all the sadness of, looting and stuff, there was a funny story in Philly. There was this furniture store that was looted, and it was an empty store, except there was a Cowboys easy chair, like a football chair to sit and watch your games, and it had Cowboy logos, and nobody took it. And the reason that that story makes me feel good is because I know that Keith Robinson was not part of the looting, because he would have taken the Cowboys chair. Keith Robinson said
I was going to say that story reminds me of this Tommy Pope tweet from yesterday that said, my favorite morons on here are the racists in my hometown, posting pics of multiple guns threatening looters, like anyone's coming to Delco for your fart-encrusted Raymore and Flanagan. It's so funny.
But yeah, that's the weird thing about it. All this weirdness, it's also personal. It's like a national story, but then it's your own personal story. Right. And damn, you do go out of your way just to find something slightly amusing. You know, that's why thank you, Ashton Kutcher, for your breakdown video. I really needed that. I needed to see a rich celebrity fuck up a little bit to feel okay about myself.
There's like, you watch 100 videos in a day and 99 of them are disturbing. You're going to hang on to the one that brought you joy. It's why I've watched that Cheesecake Factory video 50 times. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of violence and people get upset by looting, but nothing's funnier than walking down the street with a Cheesecake Factory cheesecake in perfect mint condition.
Personally, I wish I had one. I wish I had that. All right, so a couple of things we can agree on. Stay away from the police scanners. Not good for you. Will freak you out. My chick has this thing where you get, I don't know, the crime updates. And, you know, I'll just be watching a TV thing. And she's like, looks like there's a knife fight at 63rd and Lex. I'm like, there's nothing I can do about it. I don't want to hear about a knife fight going on right now. I'm watching King of Queens. I'm watching Kevin James getting caught taking a sandwich into his bedroom.
Yeah, that's the Citizen app, and I have it as well, and it can be obsessive because it'll just ping you for anything large or small that's happening in your area. But then you can also just like worry about your mom and go look in her neighborhood.
It's the Bennington show, hanging out on a Wednesday. We're at midweek here. Every day in this country is a different vibe. Every day you see something that just feels like you can't pull above it, and you can't. Man, I want to talk about this Ice-T and Nicole Arbor story, but I'm sure that's going to show up on Dish, right? Here's a story that's probably fun for all of us. The Joe Exotic Zoo is now going to be taken over by Carol Baskin, which really does seem wrong. No matter where you are on this, if you watch that, it just doesn't seem like she should have his zoo. I'd rather see the zoo closed down completely.
I know, and the weird thing is Carol Baskin, I felt, had more negative heat than Joe Exotic did.
Yeah, well, the thing was, she might have the negative heat, but she has the legal high point. And I think this came from the lawsuits that she had lined up against him. He basically is the Joe Scarborough of this story, where Trump keeps saying Joe murdered somebody, and Carol was able to turn it around. Chris, you follow along with the Tiger King stuff, right? That's your neck of the woods. I haven't had Chris on here today. I don't know what's going on with him lately.
I'm here.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. Bring it down
terrifying.
A little bit. Where were you all this time? And then why come back screaming?
I didn't realize I was screaming. I apologize.
All right. Never mind then. So anyway, that story is out there. And again, you might as well enjoy it. You might well enjoy it. Earl, here's a story that maybe that you've always been around, and that's reparations. And the BET founder, Robert Johnson, thinks that reparations would be a great investment. It's just going to cost us $14.7 trillion.
Wow. That's a number I wouldn't have put on it, but that's a pretty staggering. I mean, that's the cost of, isn't it the cost of this pandemic right now?
Well, more than it's way more than the cost of this pandemic. Although we don't know what the pandemic is going to cost, we do know this: if you're under the age of, let's say, 37, you're never going to know what it's like to have money for the rest of your life. Anyone 37 and younger will have no idea what it's like to have money. Hey, one of our favorite people on the line right now, and she was the first person that I saw put up pictures of like the Union Square area the morning after when you just started to see stuff crushed. And that's Karen Feehan. Karen, how are you, darling?
Hi, Ron. Hi. Can you guys hear me? Sorry, I never.
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly. Yeah.
Hey, hi, guys. Hi, Gail. It's good to hear you guys. They finally charged those fucking three other cops. Jesus. I feel like that took forever, right?
Yeah, it didn't.
So long.
Yeah, it did take a while. I brought this up. I follow you on Instagram, and I know that you go out and walk your dog every morning. And you were, that was the first time that I saw that hangover look in Union Square where shit was busted all over.
Yeah. That first morning, like Sunday morning when I was walking 2nd Avenue, it was just like bank after bank was smashed. And then not many, businesses, not many like bodegas, Mighty Quinn, totally fine, the barbecue spot. But yeah, there was, it sort of almost felt like, the city had like a New Year's Eve party and, people needed to clean up after it.
I was so glad that you walked over and checked on the stand. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, this is, 30 yards from the stand. Are they okay?
Yeah, and they're fine. I think if something happens, to people when now I think there's this sort of energy of stay out after curfew on purpose to make a stand and get arrested. And I listen. I weigh 104 pounds and I have asthma, so I'm not really trying to be out amongst the protesters. With that being said, I've donated a shit ton of money to bailouts, and Chris Red has a great GoFundMe going on right now to help people who are affected by maybe the COVID spike that we're going to see after this. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, we're all concerned about that.
Yeah. Today I put up a picture on my Instagram because the thing is, it's like you can't win a lot of times, and I don't know. I never fucking know the right thing to say. I am one of those stupid white people who is kind of like, well, I mean, I've had a bunch of black boyfriends. I have a ton of black friends. You know what I mean? I just like, so today, but you can't make people happy. There's so many fucking, and my thing with comics who are freaked out about, I'm losing followers. I'm losing followers. It's like, listen, we have to take a break. Not everybody can be funny 24 hours a day. Like, the world is on fire. Like, it's okay to be earnest about something. It's okay to be a human being and stand for something. And my thing is, if you're seeing a huge drop off in followers because you posted something that says, I don't think that black people should be murdered by police officers, I suspect you've been misrepresenting yourself for a while.
Yeah.
So maybe take a look at that. You know what I mean? But today I posted a picture, like a very thirsty picture of like my butt. I think you can see my nipple. And then I captioned it, swipe for pussy. if you swipe, and then the next slide, it says link in bio. And then in my bio there's a document going around that I think is the most concise and has the most information if you're looking to support different causes, whether it's police reform or helping people get out of jail or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it still feels like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like that's a trap. What you've done, you've set up a fly trap for people. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Let me tell you, I just went to your Instagram and I just want to say thank you for your service. This is fantastic, and this, I believe, will be used by a lot of people going through an anxious time right now.
I did have the inclination to post, only black guys are allowed to jerk off to this. White guys, you have to take a pause.
Yeah. So 3 months since you've done any stand-up, but luckily you kept your day job, and I bet that you were just on the brink of going, I'm just going to go, full time with stand-up.
Yeah, that's what the biggest bummer, Like I was just getting to the point where I was sort of having these like two separate income sources, and they were about to even out. They felt like they were, stand-up was about to be more, and it's just like over, or it was taken away.
Right.
What a bummer. But on a positive note, I wasn't working Eastville Comedy Club that much before, and since the quarantine, I've been doing a ton of their Zoom shows, and have become really friendly with Marco, the owner, and look forward to them opening back up and hopefully getting some stage time there. Just trying to do what I can. Chanel Ali also has a really fun Zoom show that she hosts like once a week. She has like music and like dresses up her basement and like makes it really like a lot of people like subscribe, come to the Zoom and like pay money. It's great. I think I made like $30. It was awesome. I was like, all right.
Well, sweet. We're back, baby. No, Karen, you're writing this out by yourself. Have you felt nervous? And I always see, like I said on Instagram, you know, because you have a dog, you're out on the street more than people who don't have dogs. You've got to be out there to walk the dog. Have you been nervous with it at all?
About getting coronavirus?
About getting coronavirus, and then also the fact that the city has turned physically weird, too.
Yeah, I mean, I actually just got a message on Instagram of a guy who was like, I just saw you walking your dog, and like, that's kind of scary. But for 99% of the time, people don't bother people with dogs, you know? So I feel okay in that regard. But it's like, tensions are high. I mean, I see black people on the street, and I look in their eyes sometimes, and I'm like, they hate me. You know what I mean? I don't know what to say. Like, that's a real feeling. And it's like they don't know me. They don't know anything about me or my friends or my life, or, you know, that I've done fundraisers for the ACLU before. I've done fundraisers for Black Lives Matter. But it doesn't really matter. I think that, I don't know. I also think it's like hard. Like if you see that white people are trying, maybe give them a break. You know what I mean?
Here's what I do. I always have my phone with me, and I have pictures of me and Monroe Martin and Derek Gaines, you know, and I'll just go, hey, look, these are literally buddies of mine. I know it doesn't seem like this is someone I would hang out with, but I do. We do shows.
I know. And then I feel bad for my black friends. I get so embarrassed. Like, Yamanika has to come to my page and, like, is arguing with some goofball racist that,
I know.
You know, is like, I'm going to unfollow you. It's like, just go then, buddy. Like, you know how many white cops kill every year? I'm like, okay, so you should be mad too. I mean, your point is so silly. I'm so sick of that fucking statistic that is incorrect if you look at, like, the scale of the population and the logic behind it. It's so fucking baffling to me. Well, cops kill more white people. Oh, well, it sounds like you don't give a shit about your race. Why are you mad at black people for caring about theirs? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Karen Feehan in the middle of it all. In the middle of it all, Gail.
I'm hiding in my one-bedroom apartment. So hard.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not afraid of sharing my opinion.
I will tell you this, Gail. I never see anyone else, you know, when they work out at home, that can get to a sweat the way that Karen can. Do you know how hard it is to get to a sweat in front of a TV? Because you could just stop when you start to sweat.
True.
Yeah.
You're so right. You know what I do, Gail? I jack my heat up in my apartment and I shut the door from my bedroom. Yeah, so I like create my own hot yoga. I preheat the oven, and then I start.
You know what? I miss
Gail.
Since coronavirus is seeing the restroom at your gym, seeing the locker room. I really miss it.
Equinox.
Oh, yeah.
I've come to know it very well.
There's signs everywhere telling me not to do that thirsty shit, and I do it anyway. They have signs up that say, don't share. This isn't show and tell. And I'm like, for $250, you're fucking damn right it is.
You know what confuses me, though? That one show that you do, and you already plugged it, but they call themselves The Bonfire, and I keep thinking it's Jay and Soder, and I'm like, what are Jay and Soder doing?
Yeah, I know it is confusing. That is confusing. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, is Big J going to zoom into this and do crowd work on Zoom for a while? Which he should, anyway.
Yeah, he should.
But no, it's not. It's Chanel's own thing, I guess. I guess it's like a different thing.
All right. Well, thanks to your picture today, I'm not going to unfollow you. As a matter of fact, I'm going to double follow you from a creep account that I'm setting up right now. We adore you, darling, and I'm glad that you're safe. Feel free to check in with us anytime you want. We love you. And
same to you guys.
I know. We'll see you soon, okay? Bye-bye.
Take care, Karen.
Karen Feehan, who's kind of the Hanoi Jane for jack-off creeps. You know what I mean? Like, you just... you love her, but you may not agree with her political stance, which, you know, you got to admit, Gail, she's standing up. She's saying what she believes.
Yeah, that is true.
And also, I watched her from getting time at the stand, from being like a funny young comic to a killer. You know what I mean? Like, I watched just what that stage time at that show and the ability to just keep doing it every night did for her, you know? And I'm like, it was very, very impressive to see. And then, of course, the rug got pulled out. So many of the younger comics are so great.
Stand up since she was doing open mics, and she was always so strong.
Well, her attitude, you know, but there's a different thing when you get into the big clubs, especially when you're emceeing it. You know what I mean? Like, you really have to, kind of control an entire night. And I watched her take that over. All right, we're going to break here. We got Dish coming up today. Hopefully I didn't step on any of his stories. This is Bennington.
Faction Talk 103, it's the Bennington Show! Faction Talk 103, it's the Bennington Show!
Don't let the world get you down. Don't let the world get you down. Even when it's crashing all around. Don't let the world get you down. Times like these, they come and go. Times like these just seem slow. This too shall pass, that's what they say. I gotta think it's not today. It's not today. Don't let the world get you down. Don't let the world get you down. Even when it's crashing all around. Don't let the world get you down. It's getting weird, almost surreal. Wake up again
That's Mike Zito. Don't let the world get you down. And you can hear it on GPS Quarantine. That's premiering this Saturday, 3 p.m. East, Deep Tracks, Channel 27. We're playing all the music that's coming out right now during this time all around the world. Rolling Stones, Fiona Apple, Alice Cooper, many, many more.
Really, really fun thing to do because we had the realization that for the first time in history, because of the quarantine, that kind of became a scene. You know what I mean? How do you write?
Yeah.
How do you record? What songs come out that you're like, wow, how was this in the zeitgeist? You know what I mean? How did you write this song before this thing happened? I remember after 9/11, if you think back to some of what U2 had done, it sounded like an album that was done right after. Springsteen had the same experience, and so did a lot of pop acts, where there was suddenly these Superman songs where people, there was
Right.
this weird thing after 9/11, there were people looking for Superman. It's the Stones song Ghost Town, it just gave me chills the day I heard it. And then I'm like, oh, but they wrote that before? How the fuck?
So strange. It was really strange.
So this is the first GPS that we've done since the coronavirus hit. It's a much more difficult way to record this because none of us are together. Also tonight, I'm going to record a One Flew Over the Comedy Club, which is a thing that we've only done live, and it's about, anxiety, depression, and alcohol and drug addiction in the comedy world. But again, I have no idea where this is going to go, but there's a shared anxiety that we never had before,
Yeah.
It used to be people with like anxiety problems, you could say to them, stop it. It's not, these things are imaginary that you're feeling
This
right
is in your
now.
crazy brain.
Yeah. Planes don't crash. Take a look at this data. The data doesn't make you feel you have a better chance of hitting the lottery and then people go, yeah, but I play the lottery, so should I get on the plane?
Right.
So that's coming up. Is it Saturday, Gail, or Sunday?
Saturday, 3 p.m. East, Deep Tracks, Channel 27.
I think you guys are going to enjoy this. And we put Mike Zito in there. It's one of my favorite quarantine songs, and he wrote and recorded that during the quarantine. And we got to make sure that we let him know that he gets a very nice spot in that. But, Gail, this is your favorite day of the week, Wednesday, because why?
Because it's Dish Day, of course. You can follow Kashmir on Instagram at Kashmir Danny and read his new column, newish. I mean, honestly, I'm saying new column, but we've been distancing for some time. Social Distancing Dispatches at theibang.com.
So, Vito, here's where you hit the song.
Sorry, it's not firing.
Okay, no worries. All right, let's bring in Danny Kashmir. Kashmir.
Hey, Cash.
Hey, everybody. I mean, who needs a song? We are our own music. And I'm excited to
Yeah,
see
that's true.
Deep Tracks on Saturday. That sounds good. You had me at Fiona Apple very hard, very fast.
You love that one, huh?
Yeah, it's so good.
Oh, so good. And it made me laugh because that's like every kind of like Zoom call or phone call now. I feel like it just pays tribute to her because there's dog barkings in the back of all of it. So she really normalized that, which is good. Yeah.
I love that in the album. All of it is recorded at home, and you can hear her dogs barking and like sound from her window. It's really great.
Now, we were just talking with Karen Feehan, who has been mixing her political views with ass shots. But Kashmir, who I've never thought of as political, your Instagram has gotten very political, buddy.
Because it's an interesting thing where I feel I'm not able to disassociate that much, I guess, where I'm like, I can't really watch a lot of the other stuff that I use to distract myself right now. So it's sort of just like, I just jumped into like the codependency, how can I help, what can I do type of thing. And because I know that so many, through betches and stuff like that, so many of the people that follow me are like blonde white girls, kind of like myself in a spiritual sense, that are sort of like, we've never experienced this. How can we help and what can we do? And I know the first step that everyone that I at least know can do is, send some money to places that need money and start educating themselves and stuff like that. I mean, I'll probably soon get back into like a little mix of here and there, but my ass isn't up to shape to mix that in right now.
You know what's interesting? If you follow TMZ, they're the same exact way. TMZ has gotten way more political than I've ever seen them in the past.
Yeah, I guess because the thing is now is that is like like it would be different if it was just like, oh, okay, the election's coming up and politics, but now I think we're having like a human rights awakening in the country, which really isn't or shouldn't be political.
Right.
Exactly. It's funny because it's one of those things, how I feel like we joke about sometimes that like recycling is kind of like a gay issue where like straight people are like, I can't throw a Poland Spring bottle into a trash can. They're like, that was really, what are we going to do with that? I feel like now it's sort of a thing that like human rights, it's more of that and less of a politics. Because if it was just like my local New York election, I probably wouldn't be going as balls to the walls as I would be now, because it is sort of a thing where I'm like, this is really a moment that people need to not just like let slip away or turn off. Like it's not really like a thing that people like, oh, it'll stop in a week, because it obviously won't, and it hasn't been stopping ever.
Right.
All right. Well, what do you got for us? Just celebrity dish style.
Celebrity dish style. Well, it's funny because obviously people are starting to get more vocal about issues online, and not everyone. Everyone has their own, opinion. And Nicole Arbor is one of them. And it's so funny. I was like, why do I know her name? And because she did a video in 2015 called Dear Fat People. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
Oh, yeah.
It sort of went,
oh, my God, yes.
Do you remember? Yeah, it went viral where she was like she wore like a skeleton suit and just was kind of telling them like, hey, like, don't be fat type of situation. And didn't land well, and she still, I guess, hasn't gotten her pilot license because I don't know where she's steering her plane, but she tweeted at Ice-T, who's been, always so good at Twitter, but especially now. She tweeted to him for Real Cop Killer, have you ever stopped to think about the way you did things didn't actually work, telling him that, like, division will never be the answer. And he just goes, Nicole, you did a commercial with my wife. Now you're talking reckless. Don't step in some shit you can't get off your shoe. And I like that he's just taking head on. He's not playing around at all.
Yeah.
Nicole, what made you feel bold enough to send that tweet?
Right.
For a, 25-year-old song?
Yeah. I don't know. And like, and I'm trying to look up, she's like a Canadian motivator and comedian who I really don't. I guess in a sense we're all our own motivators, so I'll let her have that title. But I'm glad that he shot that down, and he's just been really so great on Twitter. And another good thing on Twitter that I don't know, have you guys been seeing about Leah Michele?
I've been reading some of the Leah Michele drama. Yes.
Yes.
I don't think Ron knows about it.
So Leah Michele is people for a while thought that she was going to be like a little future Barbra Streisand because she has the voice, all that. And she posted a tribute to George Floyd, only to have a lot of her old castmates kind of say, check her. There was one actress in particular, Samantha Ware, who said that, quote unquote, Leah Michele said that she was going to shit in her wig while Samantha was on Glee, that Leah said that she was going to do that to Samantha, and a lot of other castmates from Glee chimed in, agreeing and echoing with the fact that Leah has had a lot of racist tendencies in the past and really is just a piece of shit human being. Like, no one has had a good thing to say about her. like, and it's even so bad. She even has like, she's pissed off people from Spring Awakening that she was in when she was like 15, I want to say. Like, she was young in that, or 18. Right. And even people from like Real Housewives, all walks of life are commenting on Leah Michele, saying, "You're not a nice person." And it kind of came to even a bigger head because she posted her Notes app apology today, which celebrities love to do. And her apology could be summed up just by her saying, "I don't remember that, but if you feel bad, I'm sorry," which never goes well.
Right.
Yeah, that's
by the way,
that's a high school reunion talk, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, hey,
yeah.
I'm sorry about that. I guess I was a bully. I don't know. I hope you're cool now, though.
I feel like if I came up with a line like "I'm gonna shit in her wig," I would remember it though. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that would stay with me that I made that as a public statement. Whether I stood by it or not, I would stay with me. I feel.
It's one of those, no matter what they take.
Then then do it. Just shit in the wig. Don't talk about it. Literally take a shit in the wig.
You got to walk the walk, Leah. Just, squat down. And, so everyone, I'm interested to see if she has to do a second Notes app apology, if she's just calling it a loss. She already lost her HelloFresh sponsorship, which, so I don't know how she'll be eating. Here's
I know, that's upsetting because that's important in this time. I mean, HelloFresh.
And it? Right? It's quarantine. She can't go out to Craig's in L.A. She's stuck inside. And she's pregnant. I'm sure she has some cravings.
Well, I finally have a butcher box coming to me, and I'm so excited about it.
Nice.
I'm very, very excited. I think I've been on the hold thing for weeks. Like I was like, not yet. You're not in our club yet. We're still looking.
You're still being vetted.
Right, there's now some spare HelloFreshes lying around they will be addressed to Miss Michelle. But if you just want to scratch that off, I'm sure you could eat some of the quinoa she was getting sent her way. This story because I don't know if you guys were in the same boat. I kind of sort of forgot about Quibi. It had the best intentions and a lot of press about it. But it really picked the worst year, I feel, to launch. And now, of course, like a lot of other companies, they are experiencing layoffs, which people are somewhat understanding of, except for the fact that apparently Reese Witherspoon got paid $6 million to narrate a show called Fierce Queens, when it's a nature doc exploring heroic female animals like cheetahs, hyenas, and ant queens. So people are a little angry that she got paid $6 million to do that, to basically say yas when a tiger jumped, when people who coded the app that it was on got the boot. And it's mainly because her husband is one of the major investors there as a head of content and talent. So we know how she got connected with the job. I mean, she's great, but let's connect a dot.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of those things. It wouldn't seem bad. Like, we're used to hearing people like make, massive, paycheck from voiceover work. But when it's coming around the time that you have a ton of layoffs, it's why it looks so bad.
One of the things that happens when you're a startup with a lot of money, you spend that money ridiculously. Like when you're a regular startup, you're like, oh, we keep a tight staff. We're sleeping here in the office. All we need is money. But a startup that has money just blows it every single time.
Yeah.
Right. They're giving everyone kombucha, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah. They're just like, yeah, what is money? It doesn't matter. And then when like the returns come in, they're like, oh, because the app is already, I think it's like 1,015 in terms of most popular apps in the store, which like shows that it's behind like MySpace. So it really is not killing it as it wanted to be. But if you have it, Fierce Queens, I've heard, is a great show to pass some time if you just need to hear Reese Witherspoon talking as an ant queen.
It's hilarious.
And another show that experienced not a layoff, but firing. Law and Order, their spinoff with Chris Maloney, who I love. Dick Wolf fired the writer who threatened looters. So Craig Gore, who was a writer who wrote for Chicago PD and SWAT, posted a Facebook post that kind of went viral where he was talking about how people who are going against curfew have to answer to him. And he was like holding a gun in his like, not even a McMansion, just like a kind of, a house that he was in. And then Dick Wolf was alerted about it and just kind of immediately let him go. So that kind of went to show that I guess if you're writing for cop shows, you got some stuff maybe going on that you shouldn't have going on.
Right. That's interesting.
Well, most things, when you have thoughts, don't rush to Twitter to express yourself. Just have the thought.
That's the thing. I feel like
he didn't even think to go by Richard.
No.
Yeah, no. He just went. I know it's. I feel like if anything, if we leave 2020 with anything, it's like maybe before you just start throwing pen to paper, take a breath. Have like a scone break and kind of really think about, like, chew on your scone and chew on your words and think, what am I trying to say and does it need to be said?
Right.
Scones. Amy Schumer learns to cook. They made scones last night.
I have it recorded.
That's all I want. Guess what? This is going to be bad for you. That's their last episode.
No, really?
Yes.
You're kidding.
It was just supposed. Yeah, it was supposed to just be like a fun little short thing to do. It was basically her doing a Zoom show, except for us on the Food Network. You know what I mean? Like, I got nothing else to do. I'm going to do this. But that baby is so damn cute. They had him dressed up as a little chef. And this is what made me laugh. They started feeding him his first brunch, and then they went back to talking to the camera, and you just see his little arms going back and forth like, that thing of, I want another bite, but I don't know how to express this, was the funniest thing in the world to me.
So cute.
So precious. I hope that they kind of use this as, like, she does more things like this, because I sort of like, I know I missed Inside Amy Schumer because we never got a true series finale for that, but I kind of like her just kind of being herself doing stuff. So maybe hopefully she'll do a bit more of that down the line.
It was really fun to see her be, funny in that way, and the way that she was just being off the cuff, and really, I loved it.
Especially because she got to such a fame level where I feel like some of her off the cuffness, she couldn't be able to do so much because it's just on like quick red carpet stuff where we saw a lot of her. So it was great to sort of see her back to some basics, and with now I'm craving a scone very bad. So that'll be my day. Emma Watson though is getting in trouble for never really being off the cuff. My thing with Emma Watson is that she's sort of just like the horse girl in your grade who somehow got on the Harry Potter movies, and now we are all suffering to remember her name forever because she just kind of keeps on popping up. But she's getting called out for suffering from white feminism, which, if anyone follows Emma Watson, it kind of could track. She did so Blackout Tuesday, which is already an interesting name, but a lot of people, myself included, posted just kind of like, black screen in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, and she was one of them. Where she messed up, though, was that was her first comment on anything that's happened in the past week. She didn't address anything, and she's someone who's very vocal for women's rights. She talks in the UN, things like that. This is her first post, and she cropped it so it had, because how people love an Instagram aesthetic for their feed.
Yeah,
she cropped it so it had a little white border around it, which is truly just, girl, what?
That's us protecting you.
Right? No. Stand behind my Strand tote bag. I got you. It's like
the only time I've ever had a trouble at all with Emma Watson is when she tried bangs. Other than that, I think she's been spot on. But remember when she went through the bangs period? It was really...
Look, it's not for everyone. It takes a special kind of gal.
A special gal. And she really, really... I remember just seeing it, and she looked too British. She looked very kind of like British Christmas Story type situation going on.
Yes,
that it's just it wasn't a good look.
Like the bangs and ringlets look. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
yes, exactly. Yeah, truly.
She looked like it was the 70s, and somehow she ended up in a band called Argent. It was just a very short period of mistake in glam. Very, very short.
Very short. I feel like it maybe is one of those when she's like, I'm a natural gal. I don't need a team. I don't need a stylist. And everyone was like, no, bitch, you do. And one of my final dish story is someone who she doesn't need a stylist because she has some stuff done, but she's just always been a beauty. But Jennifer Aniston, she was definitely a stunner in 1995, and that is the same year of the picture that she's auctioning off for coronavirus relief. There's a nude photo of her, truly with kind of like a little elongated Rachel bob going on, and it is a stunning photo, not just because she's gorgeous, but so like well photographed, and it's going currently for $6,500, but I'm sure it will kind of be auctioned up and up and up, and all of it will be going to the National Association of Free and Charitable Clinics for COVID relief. So, she's whipping it up for a good cause. Good for her.
I love it. She's like the next Karen Feehan.
Now, can we see this picture, or do we have to pay for it?
Well, that's the funny thing. You can see it online. So it's sort of one of those things. If you got, I don't know if you saw Ben Affleck marching this weekend. He used printer paper for his little tiny sign, and he wrote in script. So it very much, if you have a printer at home, you can print out this photo of her or just call Ben. But it's her kind of sitting very like legs crossed, kind of like a little pouch, little beauty with the eyes. So it's on the New York Post, but I'm sure if you just Google Jennifer Aniston nude, you'll have a good time, but probably this picture would come up too.
That reminds me, I saw one poster yesterday that I thought won the day, and it just said, NYPD, suck my meat. And that one, I'm like, okay, I need a laugh right
helpful.
now.
I like it.
Did you guys see because the LA mayor, his Zoom call where someone just goes on and tells him, suck my dick, I'm like giving back my time, like goes on and just rips him off for a minute straight. It gave me a chuckle today.
Yeah, it's rare to get those laughs.
I know.
All right, when
you
I
need
put
the bright spots.
When I put up the Jennifer Aniston nude, I'm sure a lot of these aren't real because they would go for a lot more money than $6,500. Because she's not crossing her legs. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, a lot of these I feel they're not auctioned, but I don't know what. I don't think she's done a show on Pornhub yet, but who knows? It could be the new HBO Max.
All right, Kashmir, you're the best, buddy. You're a radical, but I love you. You're a radical.
Love you
guys
so much,
Take care and stay
Kashmir.
safe. Bye, guys.
Follow him on Instagram at Kashmir Danny because he's putting out a lot of really good information and links to lots of great places you can donate to.
It is funny how easy it is to step in it these days. We brought up, that they're mad at Emma for just putting up a little thing around her black out picture.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That she puts a tiny white frame. And why that can get you in a ton of trouble today is hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, when if you made the horrifying mistake of posting the Black Lives Matter hashtag, just swarmed with people being like, take off the hashtag. That's going to ruin the hashtag. Okay. Sorry. I thought it was being helpful.
Why does it ruin the hashtag though?
Because the point was that they said people are using that hashtag to distribute information and share media and share stuff like that. And now instead it's just a bunch of black boxes. So please take off your post. And it was just like, all right, everyone's trying, okay? And also that shouldn't be your one link to information right now is the Black Lives Matter hashtag.
I thought you were supposed to stay off social media yesterday. I thought that was the point.
No, the point was that you're silencing your own noise and uplifting theirs. The photo was just like the black box was just like in solidarity, but it was it's a symbol, and the idea was that you were going to lift up other voices and information in the process. So don't post a picture of your brunch or your dog or something.
Whenever I follow any hashtag, it's just all K-pop. picture, so I don't know what
They're
to
doing
do with
good.
it. Hey, Earl has a spy report for us. Spy report.
Spy report. There will be a 4 o'clock press conference to announce that all 4 officers have been charged. The officer who was on the neck of George Floyd, his charges have been upgraded to second-degree murder.
Wow.
The other officers have been charged with second-degree manslaughter as well as aiding and abetting.
Wow.
So they moved his charge up. He was initially with the third degree,
degree.
so now they've moved it to second-degree murder.
I wonder what's going on through his fucking head through this whole thing. All 4 of them, you know what I mean? They have just been sitting in their homes going, oh, fuck. Not going to go away. Hey, did you guys see that Jimmy Fallon clip? And I don't know whether this was last night or the night before, but he's using this time to fix himself and has had the head of the NAACP on with him. And I mean, he was really, from his blackface thing, you know, he is really going all out to join the other side.
Yeah.
It was really, really, I mean, it's probably
like
one
to
of the
see that.
funniest things I've ever seen him do. You know what I mean? Just, he came in with a totally different personality, and he's here to learn and join in and help. And I'd like to be a member of the NAACP. I didn't know that white people could join the NAACP.
Yes, they can, and it's something that like a lot of white people are finding out that right now, and they're realizing that they're allowed to join, and you know it's good to donate money to them. But I think people thought like it was a club that they weren't supposed to belong to before this.
Right. You know, and then that head of the NAACP said people that helped so much back in the civil rights movement were people like Marlon Brando, who put himself out there, and a lot of people were mad. You know, Marlon Brando got that basic, why can't you just do movies? Why do you have to get involved in stuff? But here we are 50-some years later, and him going, oh, no, you know, we wouldn't have gotten the press that we got without some of those white celebrities. And I remember, weirdly enough, that Frank Sinatra was very involved in that before he kind of turned right-wing later in life. In the 60s, the Brat Pack was very much on the side of the civil rights movement, which people have kind of forgotten and think of them as just like fun, carefree guys.
They said he segregated Vegas because black performers couldn't go, like, black performers had to go through the kitchen to go to wherever they needed to go. They couldn't use the pool. They couldn't use basic things that, you know, a headlining entertainer could use. And Frank was basically like, Sammy's with me, and that's that. And if you got a problem, you got a problem.
And I'll have the mob down here so fucking quick, you won't know what happened to you. I'm not going to the cops. Yeah, that stuff always gets... But then later on, Sammy was with Nixon, and Frank was with Reagan. You know what I mean? It's really funny. As you get older, you get naturally more conservative. Well, I guess as you have money. You know what I mean? Like, money will make you think, hey, the status quo is great.
Right. I don't think things should change.
No, I like the way things are now.
Right.
I'm making a good... But do you feel like some people coming off looking so out of touch by being, like, silly during this time? I'll give you an example, and I find this in really bad taste. Bread Bros still going on.
Oh, yeah.
When, you know, the country is as it is right now. And Chris Stanley picks this time to do a Bread Bros. Vito, why don't you play that for us? Because I see that it looks like he's on the set of a James Caan movie from 1975, which is also surprising. But Vito, can you get that on Instagram and just play the audio for us?
Hey Hey guys, I'm Chris Stanley, and this week on Bread Bros, we're going to Georgia, the country, to make khachapuri. It's Georgian cheese bread with an egg on top. There's nothing not to like. Let's khachapuri.
Add your water, your milk, your yeast, your oil, your flour, and your salt. Knead for 5 minutes and let rest until it doubles in size. Then grate and combine a half pound of cheese. Roll out your dough thin and begin placing the cheese around the edges for that stuffed crust. Then fill the center of the boat shape with the rest of your cheese and hit the dough with an egg wash. Place in the oven for 15 minutes and remove. Take it out, drop an egg on it. Bake for another 4 minutes. That's khachapuri. Yummo! Bread Bros.
Oh yeah, that's what's up. It's the cheese. No, it's the cheese.
I really didn't understand the last line. It sounded like wah, 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 it's the cheese. It's the cheese.
I thought that was Homer Simpson at the end.
Let's go to Chris Stanley, and I'll say this: the bread looks much improved this week.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it was a great egg wash on it. It made it dark. Did not look burnt because it wasn't burnt. It was a delicious Georgian treat.
Now, you realize that the country's being torn apart.
Yes, I realize that, but a little content, maybe put people's minds off things for a moment.
It would be different if you would have done a bread blow that was just blacked out. Wouldn't that have been powerful during this time?
Yeah, but we could hear him still.
Yes, we could hear him, but we couldn't see the bread. Now, Gail, what do you think of this? This Georgian bread.
I'm very interested in this bread, this khachapuri. It does seem like you've got a good bake on it. And I just wanted, so the inside boat that I'm looking at, the white, is that the egg or that's the cheese?
That's the egg. That's the egg and the cheese.
No.
There's a big pile of cheese, and then there's an egg on top.
Now, one of the already early complaints is that what kind of cheese, a small detail, there's only a few hundred different types of cheese. That's from Aaron. What kind of cheese did you use, Chris?
All right, I used ricotta, mozzarella, Parmesan, and cheddar, and combined all that together to make a nice cheese paste.
Seems important to the actual recipe.
I understand.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
but
it
I
does.
only have a minute on Instagram, so I thought I'd just add cheese.
Yeah,
Maybe
okay.
less yummo then.
Yeah, and less James Caan roller skating. I don't know how you do this or how that could be my Zoom background, but I'd much rather do that. Now, I'm going to look at this. I think the bake on this was amazing, Gail. It really does look delicious. But two things. I've only seen this once before. I don't even know this bread except for Tom Papa did this on TV. And I know that a lot of people consider that you're a Tom Papa ripoff. The other thing, and this is most alarming for me, that egg does not look done. It's very, very runny. And I don't know, was it a 4-minute bake on the egg?
It was a 4-minute bake on the egg, yes. And it was.
I think maybe. Yeah. I don't like an undercooked egg. I find it a little nerve-wracking. Like, I hope this egg doesn't make me sick. I think maybe an extra minute or two might be a better way to go with that, because I don't know how hot your oven is.
I can assure everyone that I ate the entire thing and I was not sick. That was a perfect runny egg. It was not undercooked.
This is definitely not Egg Bros. I'll put it that way. It's bread bros, first and foremost.
That's an extreme raw look on that egg. And I can't just trust your gullet because you're always sick. So how do we know that your sickness hasn't improved? But the bake looks fantastic.
Yeah, it was the first time making that. It was part of that bake. It came out very well. And it was a nice stuffed crust. It was delicious.
I
This
wish
is
you
the
had
weird
gone
thing
into
about-
the cheese mixture more, because like now that I heard you say it, like I feel like that was pretty interesting. Like you're a bread bro, but I'm kind of a cheese bitch. You know what I mean?
Now I'm going to send out a thing of Tom Papa's egg, and Gail, you've got it. Vito, you've got it. You could see that his egg looks
Yes, his.
done.
I'm looking at it now. Chris definitely has a sunny side where his looks more over easy. Like there is a layer of doneness on the top of Tom's egg.
You know, you are correct when you say the sunny side, because I never order eggs sunny side. They just seem like they're not done to me.
Right.
And I know
fl-
Rocky ate raw eggs, and he seemed to be okay with it. But I will say this, your bake does look very, very similar to Tom Papa's. And the weird thing about Chris Stanley, and this is a shoot when I'm saying this, every time he bakes something, it's his first time baking it. 100% of the time. He doesn't get like, this is my specialty. He's always doing a brand new bake. And it's amazing to me how good these things turn out.
I'm very proud of this one. And the egg, while it might be too undercooked for some people, was safe. It was a safe egg. I wanted to make sure there was maximum gooiness when dipping that bread into the cheese and the egg.
Well, there was gooey.
I order my egg that way. Like at a diner, I'll just be like, I'll have it safe, please. Safe style. Minimum safety.
Man, I'm looking, at a still picture of that egg. It makes me nervous. But the bake is done perfectly. I wish we knew what the cheeses were, other than we had to drag it out of you. That's the only other side. And explain the James Caan movie going on in the background. Why that?
Well, that was Rollerball, a classic film, and I thought that it'd be fun just to drop that into the show this week. I mean, last week I had Dune. The week before that, I did Billy Madison. Before that, I believe I had the Philly Special when I made pretzel rolls.
Well, that one, okay, I get it. That's a tie-in. I get it. But I've watched Rollerball many, many times. There's not a single baking scene, nor is anyone eating bread throughout that entire film.
Well, also, I know this was a foreign dish, and I wanted to have something that people would recognize, just to put people at ease,
No one is at ease right now with a dystopian movie playing in the background.
Oh, thank God, Rollerball's on.
Rich people are just burning trees as a joke. I don't know, Chris. God bless you. It looks like a good bake this time. But the egg, I would have to say, Chris, can that go back in for a minute or two, or should I just scoop the egg off of this?
No, the egg makes it. The egg makes the dish.
Well, congratulations. Now, does your chick eat with you?
This one, I ate the entire thing myself. I made that after she had fallen asleep, and I was like, I'm not gonna bother her with this giant pile of bread and cheese and egg.
But how does she like your baking? Is she surprised by it? Is she delighted by it?
She's surprised and delighted, both. Because, when we first met, I wasn't baking shit.
Yeah. Now look at you. You got a runny egg on top of cheese. And did you just make up the cheeses that you wanted, or did you make it the way they make it over there?
Well, I think they traditionally you use goat cheese, but I didn't have goat cheese. But ricotta is somewhat similar, and I looked it up that could be a proper replacement, so I just used the ricotta. But yeah, that's a basic cheese blend for the Georgian cheese bread.
It's funny that you say this, because this is what we have to do during quarantine times. A lot of that is what Amy Schumer learns to cook, is her husband is like, well, I couldn't get buttermilk, but this is a good substitute. I put some yogurt in some milk, or you know what I mean? Like he's constantly doing that with the recipes. Chris Stanley, basically, you could be married to Amy Schumer right now. If you,
Wow.
You know.
Like, hey, Amy,
Just
want
played
some
it.
more cheese bread?
Yeah, something like that might work.
Yeah, that's how people get married.
It's what I can offer, you know?
Just from watching that show, I don't think they knew each other too well before they got married. I still feel like they're finding out things all the time.
Getting to know each other.
Yeah. I mean, when you have an 11-month-old, which means that they were together for at least 9 months before that, and still they seem surprised by each other's personality. All right, Bread Bros is up. It is, an exciting thing. Normally, it probably is the worst timing to put this up now when we have so many problems. I mean, it comes along a little tone deaf, if I'm going to be totally honest.
Shit.
But I do like the bake, Chris. I do think you're doing a great job baking.
Thank you. I think it really came out as good as it possibly could. I mean, it was the right color. It was the right texture. And the egg was safe. It was safe. Trust me. No
Very
thick-
runny. It looks
Very.
clear.
Yes, I will agree. It was very runny. But that added for the sop it up with that bread.
And one thing about Chris that's different from a normal baker, he eats it seconds out of the oven. Seconds. You don't normally see that because he never seems to be sharing his bread with anyone. That's why I asked about his chick. The fact that he sat there and ate this entire loaf of cheese bread by himself.
Do you have to edit out your screams of pain every time?
It's very hot. Some people let it rest. I dive in.
I'll also say this. That shirt's getting pretty worn looking quick. It looks like you've owned it for 4 years now.
It's the washboarding. I think that puts extra fucking wear on the clothes.
Yeah. Well, we may have a bread bro show in our future somewhere. You know what I mean? Obviously, this has to be pushed to TV. You're probably going to need a better kitchen and a better chance to get ingredients than what you have right now. I mean, but for a quarantine home bread show, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, I feel like I've adapted well to the quarantine in this sense. That I'm able to pull this off. Yeah.
Yeah. You have no choice. That's the beauty of it.
And I was kind of proud that less of a titty shot this week. I know people like to bring that up.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of sad. I'll read this one to you. The neck beard and all that oily hair, no hairnet. How much gross, stinky pepper hair ends up in each one of those recipes? That'll kill us on the Food Network. You know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff that, from a producing point of view, Gail, we can help with. You know what I mean? We can get him a makeover.
Yeah, he's not necessarily camera ready.
I mean, what do you think about me, like, putting my face in the camera at the end of every episode to show how happy I am with my work?
That works. That works 100%. A close-up to end it with you stuffing your mouth. That's great. All right, Smash said this. Call that shit Rocky bread with that raw-ass egg on there. Yeah, that was the first thing that I noticed, too.
Smash Bradley doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right, here's a rave for you from Silver Surfer. Scumbag, good job. So that's nice.
I don't like the scumbag part, but I do enjoy the good job part.
All right, now here's Go Pack Joe, world traveler that he is. And let's all remember this about world travelers. They're the ones that spread the coronavirus. Period. End of story. He says, having been to Georgia I'd say Chris nailed it. And then 3 pictures of what I'm going to guess is the Georgian flag.
Oh, wow. I've never been to Georgia, so that's high praise.
You've never even been to the state, Georgia.
No.
Johnny Rocks, who's never been a fan of yours, Chris, he writes, seems more like a pie than a bread.
Incorrect. It is not a pie. It's straight bread. It's not pie dough. It's bread dough, bro.
There's also a lot of concern right now out of the Margaritaville camp that you and your alt brothers have taken the Hawaiian shirt, which was always a fun kind of Buffett thing to put on, and have turned it into an alt-right Civil War hate group.
Now it makes sense why he's anti-Buffett, because he's like, don't take my alt-right look.
Right.
This is not an alt-right look. I'm telling you, I'm just a man who enjoys wearing a pineapple shirt. There's no message behind it.
Too late, Chris.
Fuck.
Even Tom Petty couldn't sit around and try to defend the Confederate flag. He had to go in the other direction. But during that Southern Accents tour, he had this giant Confederate flag. And he's like, hey, man, it's called Southern Accents. I'm singing about this stuff. And then later he had to say, that was stupid. Sorry about that.
I mean, I hope this doesn't gain traction, because then I'm going to have to put out an apology letter for my fucking pineapple shirt. And I really don't want to ditch it. It's a big part of my wardrobe.
A letter? Where are you going to send it? To the Daily Bugle? Come on, Chris. Get with the times. Well,
I think he's going to send it to the Cecil Whig.
That's hilarious. That's a once-a-week paper that's hard-hitting. Now, I'd like to try this bread. I'm dying to try it. But I am going to ask to bring my own egg. So I don't want you to put an egg on top of it. I'll fry my own egg and put it there.
BYOE.
Ronnie B, for you, I would leave it in there for another minute or two. If that makes you comfortable, I'll do it for you.
Do you worry that'll ruin your bake, though?
I don't think so. I think one more minute in there, it'll be fine. I think it'll be maybe slightly crustier, but there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, Italy 14 says it looks great. I think the egg looks too runny because mixing it in with the hot cheese. Drew said, that's the perfect raw egg, Chris. Great job.
It's not raw. It's cooked.
All right. UFC or UF Chuck says, hey, Stanley, way to make a bread vagina. Surprised you didn't spread pepper butter in it.
Oh, there is butter in it. There is butter in it. You put like 2 tablespoons of butter on top right after you take it out.
This is important to the ingredient.
I only have a minute. I gotta pick and choose what I throw in there.
Well, maybe if you weren't dancing around in front of James Caan, you could use your time a little better. The recipe has to be there, Chris.
I thought people liked me in front of my green screen. Maybe I'll have to cut that segment down.
If I'm going to be pitching this to the nerds at the Food Network, the food nerds, or foodies, it's important that we get the recipe out. That's another thing, Chris. Maybe you should just put out a physical recipe for people, too.
I think I'll start doing that. For the next Bread Bros, there will be a recipe.
All right, Liz Says Fire said Chris's shits are going to be as runny as that egg. That's a little more blunt. That's a little more blunt than I wanted it to be, but she is correct.
I don't want to go into detail, but eating a half pound of cheese is not good for your digestive system.
J Mark also said you burned it again. I did not see it that way.
Not burnt. It's an egg wash. It makes it darker.
Chris.
Hi, Juju.
Baking bread. Baking bread and a raw egg there.
Not raw.
Do me a favor, Gail. Don't let her watch too much because I don't want it to ruin rollerball for her. I want her to see. I'm waiting her to be the right age when I present rollerball to her, and I don't want her to think of it as a baking movie. I'm gonna look one more time at this finished bread to see if I think that it's burnt. No, I think that's good. I think that's real good.
It's egg wash, baby.
I definitely will risk the salmonella of this runny egg to eat this.
I would love to serve you.
The worst part is he used a turtle's egg.
No.
That might be a good idea for you, Chris.
The sea turtle eggs.
I know Juju got to see some turtles today. That was her first, because you took her to the park early this morning, huh?
Yes. We went early this morning, and it was nice and quiet, not too many people there. And, yeah, she did get to actually run and play around and see animals and not just play among the dead the way she has been.
They've been taking her to the cemetery to stretch her legs a little bit, which is an oddly good idea. But she likes nature so much.
She does.
That I'm glad she got to the park. So did she see anything else besides turtles?
She saw fish. She saw some squirrels. She saw birds, which of course she was very excited. There was a black and white bird, and she was just like, "Woo, a penguin!" I'm like, "Nope, that's." I know that you think it is, but that's not something you come across in the park.
I can't believe I got one of the best penguin houses ever in my neighborhood.
I know,
and I can't take her there.
Aren't you like kind of worried that what if she stops, like she gets out of the penguin phase by the time all of this is over?
And she will. You know what I mean? That's the thing about curiosity, like a curious kid. They move on to the next thing to be curious about. Coronavirus, you fucker.
I know. I'm a little sick of it. I'm not going to lie. A little sick of the quarantine.
Adam wrote this, Chris. Did Chris remove the sperm chunk from next to the yolk? Some people find that disgusting.
Ew.
I think you're back, Stanley. You know what I mean? We could pick apart anything in this world. You know what I mean?
True. Very, very true. But yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident again.
And I also disagree with Johnny. I don't think it's a pie. That's definitely a bread.
Yeah.
Because it's not pie crust. It's bread crust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I see how it could somewhat resemble like, an open face galette or something. But it's a bread.
Now, Gail, is there something you like to see Stanley bake?
Ooh, I have to think about that. Like, I feel like I haven't seen him do many like dessert breads. I mean, he did do the cinnamon bun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the jizzy, the jizz-like substance on top.
All right, Chris, this is another thing. You can't say that stuff and get on the phone on the Food Network. You cannot say jizzy substance and feel like you're going to be mainstream. And I don't want you to be just some underground bread baker.
You know what I see them do on like Great British Bake Off is they do those kind of like pull apart loaves. I would be interested to see one of those.
I don't even think I know what that is.
They're like almost like sectioned, so and like a lot of times they have different ingredients mixed in. So sometimes they're like sweet, sometimes they could be savory, but they're like pull apart bread and they're in sections, so you can get like pieces from it. They always have like nice little like cuts in the top of the bread. so you can pull each individual piece off.
That sounds delicious.
It seems so British. Yeah. Seems so British. Vito, as an Italian, what would you like to see Chris make?
I would like him to do a nice baguette.
Now, isn't that kind of fried, though? Isn't it like you have to drop it in hot oil?
Yeah, but...
A baguette? No.
Oh, a baguette. I was thinking he was going for beignet. All right, yeah, a baguette. Yeah, that would be nice, Chris. A baguette would be nice. It's simple, it's tasty, and maybe you can make a side pasta.
Ooh, that sounds great. I'll bang out some baguettes this weekend.
Or you get with hoagie dom and you come up with a perfect hoagie roll to make. A perfect hoagie roll to make. Now, that is something that you don't eat hot.
That's very interesting. I think I will fucking go for some loaves. For sandwiches, I mean.
Yeah. All right. Or have you ever considered yourself a pie or a cake?
I haven't, in the past 3 months, I haven't worked a lot with sugar, so I'd be interested to see how I pull that off. And I'm looking at these pull-away loaves, and they look fucking delicious. I'm looking at one that's cheese and garlic, and that's right up my alley.
Yes, it is. He's a savory guy, our Chris Stanley.
Yeah.
He has a very savory taste. Or as he would call it, spunky jizz.
A lot of times, instead of dessert, he'll just order another appetizer.
It's delicious.
Dude, I remember going out with Eastside Dave, and he would eat like an animal until the desserts would come around, and then he would hate it. And he says, why don't we just get another piece of meat? I go, because that's not dessert. You know what I mean? That's not a palate. He did not like desserts at all. I never met anyone like that. All right, I'm going to take a look at this, and you're calling it pull-away bread, Gail?
Yeah, pull away or pull apart bread. I feel like they've had a couple challenges like that on the Great British Bake Off. So that's how I became hip to it.
I've never heard Bake Off and hip used at the same time. All right, I am agreeing with Gail. This looks delicious, and it also looks challenging, Chris. Very, very challenging.
It does. It looks like a lot of scoring work. I'm just going to guess just by looking at it. But look, I'm going to look deeper into this. I'm going to find something that I can do.
I mean, the cheese and garlic almost makes it like a hot sandwich coming out of there. You don't need anything else.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I want this.
No,
yeah,
good call, Gail.
Good call.
Awesome. I'm glad.
I'm going to eat the whole thing myself, too.
Yeah, of course you are. I've never seen you share.
Seems like you should drop some off to me. I mean, it was really my idea.
Okay. Bread delivery.
I'd like to see you delivering bread to the protesters. This way, you can put out content guilt-free.
If they see that pineapple shirt, they'll rush him and beat him up like he had a sword or a crossbow.
Chris reminds me so much of Crossbow Guy.
Why?
Yeah, he does.
I'm nothing like him.
Age.
No.
Oh, you're not the same age? I thought you were.
No, I'm much younger.
She sounded like she had a good sleep, and she seems a little more energetic.
Yeah, she is. She had a good sleep, and I think she was like, got some actual exercise today. So she slept nice and early.
My sleep is down to 3 hours on, 3 hours off, 3 hours on, 3 hours off over the course of the day.
All right, she's trying to put the IP codec stylus up her nose, and that's not what that's used for.
No. Hey, guess what? I just got an update. My butcher box has been shipped.
Woohoo!
Nice.
Now I couldn't order.
Did you-
Yeah.
Juju gave you a woohoo as well.
Woohoo! They were all out of chicken, so I had to go straight beef and then some sausage.
Oh, nice. Juju, don't put that up your mouth.
Juju.
Hey, you know this is pop-up? Pop-up's on the radio.
She's being silly today.
She's in a silly mood.
We
She's
got a
in a-
break here, mate. Go ahead.
She's in a stylus up the nose mood is really what is going on.
We'll be right back. Bennington.
Faction Talk 103, it's the Bennington Show. Faction Talk 103, it's the Bennington Show.
Bennington Show, kids. We're back in a big way. GPS this Saturday, 3 p.m. in the East. It's GPS Quarantine. It's one that you're going to like to listen to because it's ripped from the headlines, folks. It's today. It's the now. It's in your face. It's vote or die MTV style.
So edgy.
Yeah. So we're doing new stuff on Deep Tracks, and we battled out this a lot because a lot of what people are like, hey, this thing is cool, and it's always somebody doing their hit song in their living room. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's new music. I don't mind seeing, My Sharona being done on acoustic guitars, but I did not want to put that into GPS.
Right. Yeah. I think we mostly wanted to focus on the new music that is going to remind you of this time period forever.
Yeah. And yet there is a cheat in that, if you think about it. There is kind of a cover of studio musicians. I think that were even co-writers on that song, but we had to put one in. You know what I mean? We had to put one in there because it is about this time. Earl wants to give us another spy report.
Spy report.
Minneapolis Attorney General Keith Ellison has
Wait, let's stop for a second. Say the name of that city again.
Minnesota Attorney General.
No, you can't say that. I want you to say the name of the city.
I can never say Minneapolis.
I know you can't. That's why I'm making you do it.
Minneapolis.
Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison has formally announced the charges against all 4 officers. 2 are in custody. The other 2 will be in custody this afternoon.
Now, I wonder if they'll all be released on bail, though.
I would strongly doubt it. I don't think.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
Yeah, I think they will be. Because in the same way that there's going to be people putting up money for the Black Lives Matter bail, which is like, oh, you're going to get bailed a terrorist, and who's your bail go to? The guy who's knocking out that woman, all that kind of stuff. You're going to get a lot of people that are willing to put bail up for these guys, no matter how much money it is. But Earl, I'm going to give you the official title right now. You're going to be our Black Lives Matter street reporter. Congratulations.
That's cool. I was gunning for that position, but you know what? I'm happy he got it.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see where or how the protests shift now. Does those things really calm down? Do things stay the same?
Earl,
Yes.
here's the thing. You got to give me the answers, not the questions. Everybody's got the questions. You got to be the guy who shows up with the answers. And now I also want you to look into this. I think it's a Rochester, New York show that got fired because of the complaints of the way that they talked about it. They were using the term thugs, and also, and I haven't listened to it, so it may be worse than it sounds to me. But I think they used the term N-wordy, you know what I mean? Which is, why not just say it if you're going to go to that point? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just you don't even go there. Just say.
Of course.
Violent, just don't use that. Don't even infer.
Now, your other assignment is going to be Jimmy Fallon. Do you believe him? Do you think that he should even be forced to make a change? Like, in terms of racism, is Jimmy Fallon pretty low down on the list? That's where I would imagine, out of all the racists that you have in the country, Jimmy Fallon is easily in the bottom 20%.
Oh, not even he just wants to be everyone's friend, and I mean in a good way. I mean, just in terms of, he had his choice of house bands. He picked the Roots. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's a good point. Nobody has said that yet, Gail. He picked the Roots, and I always remember when he got them. I'm like, well, that's really cool, but they're not going to stay. You know what I mean? Like, they've got a career. Like, I see this for maybe 6 months or a year, but how could the Roots stay? And they have all these years now.
Yeah, because he's basically made them such a part of the show to where when they have musical guests, the guests are backed by those guys. They learn the songs. They took the job very seriously, and then him on top of that, giving them that whole opening with sometimes they'll play with the toy instruments. That's a good way to keep the band involved. It's a fun way to keep them integrated into the show. I don't think Jimmy Fallon racist.
But here's an interesting thing when it comes to the Roots, and this is true across the board. Think of your favorite bands. It doesn't matter what band that you think of, right? Most of the people in that band are not good enough to be studio musicians. They just don't have that kind of talent. You know what I mean? And so when you're playing with whoever happens to be the musical guest, you've got to learn a lot of different styles, and you have to be able to understand music and read music. It's a very difficult thing for a band to adjust to other people. And they do it, they do it all the time.
Those guys got serious chops. Mark Kelly, the bassist, Kirk Douglas, who I know very well, and the super cool
great
guy.
Actor.
not that Kirk Douglas, but
okay.
And Quest is one of the great drummer. He's a great band leader.
Well, he is. He's really musically intelligent. But why don't you admit this for once in your life, Earl? To be able to pull that off, you got to go to Philly, guys. You know what I mean? You got to get on the train and come up from Philly, because they don't have that kind of talent in New York City. Admit it, and then we can move on.
I won't admit that, but Philly's produced some pretty seriously heavy dudes and ladies.
Thank you.
Don't call him that, by the way. His weight fluctuates.
What, ladies?
First of all, fluctuates hurts, Scale, by even saying that. Second, that video is up where Jim and Sam are treating me like a snack. And I have to say this, and I don't think women would understand this, but it's very disarming to be treated as just a body. You know what I mean? And to have them disgustingly talk about my looks like that. When I've had a full career in broadcasting and stand-up comedy. I'd like to be judged that way, and not whether I'm a snack and or a much more acceptable name, Hot Daddy.
Ask him more. That's what I say. There's more to you than just looks.
Do what that one person did. Go through Gail. That's the perfect thing, because when everybody, have a very, as you know, Gail, a rough time picking out women because everybody has a type. And unfortunately for me, my type is convicted felon. So I shouldn't be, you know what I mean? I shouldn't be judging women. I need
That should be taken away
Gail
from you.
yes, I need Gail to be that person who goes through it, make sure that this isn't damaging to me. Speaking of damaging women, a good friend of Earl's who's been out at the protest with him, Lily, who's also a fine baker. There's another Bread Bros up tonight, but we have Lily on the line right now.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Lily.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Taking a couple days off from the protesting, but otherwise doing pretty good.
What got you involved in the protesting? I never thought of you as political.
Well, I'm pushing 40 now, Ron. So, you're
Yes.
sort of forced with age to get a little bit more politically involved because, it actually kind of matters. The laws that they create kind of matter. So I've always also hated cops, so I had no problem jumping in on this protest. So, I've been out pretty much every night. I took a couple nights off because had a little hairy situation Monday night. I hurt my knee, so I can't really walk so well. So,
what happened on Monday night?
So Monday night, if you remember, in New York City, it was the first night of curfews, and there was an 11 p.m. curfew. And I was with a group of a few hundred people protesting pretty much around the old XM studio grounds, 57 7, somewhere around there. And then around 8 p.m., which was, a few hours before curfew, they sort of were pushing a bunch of us down one side street and blocking us from both ends. So they were pretty much blocking us in and screaming at us, threatening to hit us with their batons and threatening to hit us with their pepper spray. And it got really scared. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't get scared quite often in New York, but I was pretty scared. So I got, thrown around a little bit, hurt my knee. Then they finally let us go because it's like, I don't understand. If you're blocking us in and you want us to leave, like, which one is it? You're being contradictory. I literally don't get it. But yeah, I just want to say to anybody going out there to just be safe because, tensions are pretty high right now.
I was out yesterday when a bunch of the protesters were all heading down. It had to be, it was well over 1,000, maybe a couple thousand. Fifth Avenue, you could see from one end to the other was just protesters. It was almost like the Trump thing the day before had brought a lot more people out. But they're also incredibly young and incredibly diverse. I feel like most of these protesters are very serious in their young political views.
It's kind of remarkable. I would say maybe 10 years ago, I would have been the type of person to be like, oh, this new generation, F them, look at these spoiled brats. But they're amazing. They're organized. They are smart. They got their shit together, honestly. This is the media, whatever you want to call it, activism. They are so prepared for this. And I was just reading that the NYPD is now being forced to work, 12-hour shifts 7 days a week without days off. So they're going to get worn out pretty fast, I think.
Yeah, the energy of those kids was unbelievable. And I kind of made this statement early on, but it is going to have to be their world to clean up. This is really a passing of the torch, whether the older generation was ready to do this or not, because most of the people in politics now will not be around for the rebound. It's going to take years for the rebound. It's going to be reshaped whether you like this or not.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was just like, also another article that came up was like people were going, "Where are all the young activists? Where are all the Bernie Sanders supporters?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking? They're out in the streets right now. What are you talking about? That's where they are."
Right.
It's just, it's crazy. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of them are not doing TV because it doesn't matter to them. You know what I mean? TikTok
exactly
suddenly
right.
got hot. Yeah.
They don't need the mainstream media. They hate the mainstream media. And that's like one thing that the media doesn't even know how to answer themselves. Like, why is it that when Donald Trump says, you know, the media is the enemy of the people, it resonates with them? You know, why is it that like a majority of the American people distrust the media? You know, they are not going that way. They know that you're not going to paint them in the best light. So they're going to represent themselves in a different way. And I love it, to be honest. And also, anybody who follows me on Twitter, since I've been going out to protest, I've been jumping on the NYPD scanner like a lunatic that I am. So I've been like just tweeting updates about that. So if anybody's out there and wants to get like some updates about, you know, where crowds are, where the police are headed and stuff like that, can follow me at Lily Hassanai on Twitter.
All right, we'll make sure that we retweet. But you stay in touch with us, okay? Because,
okay, absolutely. I'll try to do some more updates.
Yeah, and, you know, I know Earl's out there with you, but it doesn't seem like he gets very close. I'm going to be honest about it.
Earl is, when you know, a loud sound goes off, Earl's the first one to run. And I'm not saying that like he's a scary guy. He has a reason to be like, I'm going to get out of here. You know what I mean? I get it, and I totally get it. I'm just a little bit more, you know, I'm just white, so I guess I don't have that as much fear of the police as maybe Earl would, but...
Well, I will admit to this. The night that you were talking about, 57th and 7th, I was out, you know, walking in my neighborhood, which is only blocks away, so I could see all the cop cars down there. And you're naturally drawn, and I was heading that direction, and I went, no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, I'm fighting my basic instinct, which is if I see a group of people, I'm walking in the opposite direction. That's like who I am at heart. So I've really had to like, you know, kind of rewire myself in a way and be like, no, this is group mentality here. We got to stay together. So, yeah.
All right, there's a new Bread Bros up. I want you to check it out. Chris has it up on our Instagram. I thought that the egg was undercooked, but the bake looked nice.
All right, I'm going to check it out, and I will definitely critique Chris. I'm always critiquing you.
All right, love you, darling.
All right, I'll see you guys. Thanks.
Peace. Let's make sure we retweet her because her last name is, well, it lacks vowels, so it's not easy to tell people how to find it. But, Gail, you had a spy report for us.
Yeah, I just had this sent to me from a good friend who I went to high school with, that Dream Street's Chris Truesdale dies at 34 of coronavirus. This was like a boy band, a kids boy band that was popular in the early aughts, and I actually went to high school with him. He was a friend of mine, and my friend just sent me this, and just shocked. It's just processing it this very second.
Dream Street probably came in very late in the boy band craze, and they did have a little bit of heat. I think they were still high school kids at the time, right? When they were making records,
they were,
or just that,
Oh yeah, they were in high school at the time, and like, you know, girls used to show up outside of our school to try to, you know, catch a peek of him, and you know, girls would be out there with signs and stuff. He was very, very, very much had his own like little mini pop star thing going for him.
Beautiful kid.
Yeah, and a total sweetheart and like a light. And honestly, I haven't seen him since I was a senior in high school. But it was just crazy to have that sent to me. See that, you know, 34 years old. You know, knowing I don't know, you know, anything of his health, but know that he died from complications from coronavirus. I think. Just either today or yesterday. So news is just coming out now. It's so heartbreaking to see that.
Yeah, 34 years old, and a lot of people will tell you the coronavirus just hits older people. And we were talking to our friends Bob and Dudley yesterday, and they're like, we don't know anybody who's had it. And we're like, we do. You know what I mean? Like, I get that New York City is a different situation. if you follow the news at all, coronavirus is almost off the front page because of the protests, but we're all concerned about another spike because this is the first time we had crowds getting together. And I've been trying to do the whole social distancing thing, but when I got out yesterday, I remembered after the fact, oh, you crossed right through the street so you could see this from another angle. It was like the first time that I found myself around 1,000 people, and I'm not considering it, even though I'm wearing a mask and stuff like that. But it's one of those things how when it gets out of your mind, you can completely forget about it. And I'm not an in-the-moment type person. So when I get home, I'm like, hey, I hope I washed my hands long enough. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't, my mind doesn't work where I'm doing the chop wood, carry water in the moment thing. Doesn't happen much. And obviously I'm going through a state right now of being sexually harassed by Sam Roberts. So that's always on my mind all the time. Am I just a snack? You know? Is that the way I want to be perceived? I wanted to go do this hot daddy contest that they're having in town where, you just put on a Speedo and you're walking up and down. But I'm like, is that going to just play more into this? Maybe that doesn't best serve me. But isn't it sad that I have to second guess myself? Shouldn't HR get involved in this?
Someone should step in.
And yet no one will. You know what I mean? I find myself alone. Chris Stanley, when do I got to do my Zoom show? What time tonight? 8?
That's 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern.
That's exactly, when I have to be home, according to the city of New York. I'm not allowed out at night.
No,
I have a curfew. I have a curfew like I was 13. That's the last stage that my parents even attempted to, you got to be home by this time. Once I was 14, I was on the streets. The bad streets of suburbia. Getting ready to wrap this one up. I don't know of any protests. I know you wanted to get out early yesterday, Vito, because you were concerned about the protests, but you don't have even a heads up on that today, right?
No, yeah. Yesterday I knew that there was going to be one across the street, but today I didn't see anything about one outside here. I assume there will be, though.
If you ever need help with that, I have a Black Lives correspondent now, Earl Douglas, and he's available anytime you need him. He's got all the info.
There is a protest moving up along 14th Street. They said the estimated crowd now is like 2,000 people, and it's marching up towards 14th Street and 6th Avenue.
All right, as long as they're downtown, great. Whatever happens downtown, that's downtown's business. I'm an uptown girl, like Chrissy Brinkley. I've been living in this uptown world. I just walk around in a little pink dress, looking like a snack. And I do not welcome that talk. Hot daddy, sure. I like to consider myself the Leah Michelle of everything that's happening uptown right now.
Did you say you were going to shit in someone's wig, though?
The difference between me, she'd have a wig full of shit. That's the difference between me and Leah Michelle. I ain't going to say it. I was going to do's it. I will shit in your wig, bitch. Ew. Ew. All right, Chris, if I can't do this thing tonight, I want you to just take over for me.
I mean, I don't think it'll go as well without you. I appreciate you asking me, but I really think you should be there for it.
What about the Black Lives correspondent, our own Earl Douglas? Earl on the street Douglas. And by the way, Earl, did it bother you that Lily said you were the first to run?
I, being a black man, I would probably have a big target on my back, and again, we saw these surges of people, and she was like trying to walk towards it because at one point there was a fire on 13th. She's like, "Let's see the fire," and I'm like, "Let's not," because we don't know if this thing's going to blow up.
This is the weird thing about all this, and we should all take a pause. A lot of people who were never political, as far as we know, and we had them on today: Kashmir, Karen Feehan, Lily. I've known those people for a while. Never heard a political noise out of them. They're all involved now. Isn't that strange?
Yeah, I think because, like, you know, and this is like a good way to think of it is like your politics don't have to come into it. You know, all you have to think about is a human rights issue. It's welcome to different types of politics. But
human rights is politics. You know what I mean? And it always has been. That's the weird thing about it. Human rights is literally a political statement, you know? And it's also a political statement to say, hey, let them work it out themselves. You know what I mean? That's also political. Everything is more political than we've ever thought before. Drew Brees in trouble right now. It's up on TMZ. He's taken a backlash because he said he'll never agree with kneeling during the anthem. And we had pretty much forgotten that whole thing because then they're saying, if the football players go back, do they kneel? And Drew Brees says he will never disrespect the flag. You could say it that way, but you could also think it as disrespectful to be okay with horses and, flash bombs and rubber bullets and beanbags being shot at people protesting. Or the U.S. Army around the Lincoln Memorial and without anyone saying on national TV. Why would the Black Lives Matter people hate the Lincoln Memorial? It would seem like one guy that would get a pass would be Lincoln.
Yeah. Pretty sure he's invited to the cookout.
I can't wait till there's a cookout. I really might even risk coronavirus just to go to a cookout.
I know.
All right, we got to wrap this one up today. Another weird day, but they're all going to be weird from now on. We're trying to hang in with you and have as much fun as we can. Check out Bread Bros. Chris Stanley attempted to do a comeback video after his burnt shitty bread. And I think from a bread point of view, he's achieved that. He's achieved that. Congratulations, Chris. Just a little tone deaf in the day that you released it. That's it for us, everybody. Gail, I'm sorry about you losing your high school friend. That's a really hard thing.
Thanks.
And we'll be back here with you tomorrow. Stay safe and stay cool. Take care.